Hello everyone, welcome to Legacy Eyes Academy. Yesterday, Indian government has released green hydrogen policy, and in this video we will discuss what is green hydrogen, what are the advantages of green hydrogen, what are the challenges of green hydrogen, and what are the provisions of National Hydrogen Mission. Okay, let's begin. What is the context? Context, as I already told you, government announced step 1 of National Hydrogen Mission to boost green hydrogen. So here you can observe this is the step 1, and you can assume that there are lot many steps that the government is planning in near future. Okay, why do we need such a policy? We will see this in few minutes. Why is green energy or green hydrogen required? Top oil refiner sees India's green hydrogen push halving the cost. That means green hydrogen, the cost that is required for green hydrogen now will be reduced by 50% in near future. This is what the top oil refiner is expressing his views. Green hydrogen policy offers 25-year transmission fee waiver for green power. Okay, what is it? What is this provision? What is mean by 25-year transmission fee waiver? We will see this. We will see this in detail. Okay, this is the context. The context is National Green Hydrogen Mission, which was announced by the government yesterday. What is green hydrogen? You will be wondering by now, what is green hydrogen? We all know about the hydrogen, which has the atomic number 1 and is the first element in the periodic table, which is followed by helium with atomic number 2. What is green hydrogen? Green hydrogen is a hydrogen gas produced through the electrolysis of water, which is an energy intensive process that splits the water into hydrogen and oxygen. Here in this diagram you can see this is water. In the process of electrolysis, hydrogen is accumulated here and the oxygen is accumulated here. This is called grey hydrogen. This is called grey hydrogen because the electricity produced is through a battery, or the electricity produced is through crude oil or thermal power. This is why this particular hydrogen is called grey hydrogen. Now you can imagine, now you will be able to guess what is green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is when this electricity is produced from renewable sources, of energy. Renewable sources are solar, hydro, biomass. Okay, these are some of the renewable energy sources. If the electrical energy produced is through the renewable sources and such energy is used in the process of electrolysis to produce hydrogen, then such an hydrogen is called as green hydrogen. Remember, such hydrogen is called as green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is the hydrogen generated entirely by renewable energy sources. This is what we have seen now. This is the process of electrolysis, and if in the mains exam, if you are asked what is green hydrogen, or explain the mechanism of the production of green hydrogen, you would be required to write this diagram of electrolysis. Okay, this diagram will fetch you better marks. Now let's see the recently announced National Green Hydrogen Mission. Okay, this is National Green Hydrogen Mission. Why do we need such a green hydrogen mission? What is the importance of green hydrogen? First thing is the crude oil imports. We all know India is the net importer. When it comes to the goods and services. On this, the major chunk of India's import is crude oil, which is used for the purpose of industry also agriculture and passenger vehicles. Okay, around 85% of India's demand is met through imports. Okay, we just have very few among them. One is Mumbai High, that's called Bombay High, and also Digboy in Assam. These are the important crude oil sources in India, and the rest, that is almost 85% of our crude oil demand, is met through imports. And our import bill is around $62 billion. Okay, if you convert it into rupees, you will get somewhere around 6 lakh crore rupees. 6 lakh crore rupees would be the import bill for the crude oil imports. This is per year. This is per annum. Okay, this is per annum. If such a huge amount is being spent on imports, it is not creating any wealth in India. On the other hand, if the same amount is used to produce green hydrogen, and we are able to develop some mechanisms which can use green hydrogen, then we can use or we can save this much money. This is what is government aiming for, and in this regard, government has come up with green hydrogen policy. Green hydrogen policy. Okay, we have understood the issue of crude oil imports. Now we will see COP26 commitments. What is COP26? Recently, Conference of Parties, that is Conference of Parties to United Nations Framework for Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, met at a place called Glasgow, in which India committed to something called Panchamrit. India committed to something called Panchamrit, which means 5 binding principles that India is working on. First one is India has said 500 gigawatt of renewable energy production by 2030. This is the first commitment India has given in COP26. 500 gigawatt of electricity energy production by 2030. Second one, 50% of India's energy demand would be met by renewable sources by 2030. This is the second binding commitment. Third one, India would reduce about 45% of emission intensity of GDP by 2030. Emission intensity of GDP would be reduced by 45% by 2030. Along with this, India would reduce the carbon emission up to 1 billion tons. Up to 1 billion tons by 2030. And the last very important commitment when it comes to the COP26 is net zero emissions. Net zero emissions. India has committed that by 2070, India will be a net zero emission country. India will be a net zero emission country. These are the 5 principles that are called as Panchamrit. In order to achieve these 5 principles, India is working towards green hydrogen policy. Green hydrogen policy. Okay, I think you have understood this particular concept. Now let's see what are the highlights. What are the highlights of the National Green Hydrogen Policy? 25 years of free power transmission for any new renewable energy plants set up to supply power for green hydrogen production before July 2025. For example, imagine a renewable energy plant or a solar plant being set up in the state of Karnataka. In the state of Karnataka, renewable energy plant is being set up, and hydrogen plant or an industry to produce hydrogen is set up in Andhra Pradesh. When this particular company in Karnataka transfers electricity to Andhra Pradesh for green hydrogen plant, there would be no tax that this particular company has to pay for the next 25 years. Okay, this is the meaning of 25 years of free power transmission for any new renewable energy plant set up to supply power for green hydrogen production before July 2025. I think this is the first provision that was announced yesterday by the government. Government is set to provide a single portal for all the clearances that are required for setting up green hydrogen production. Any industry that is being set up, greenfield industry for that matter, will have to get clearances from environment. We call it as environmental impact assessment. It should also get many clearances from various departments of state governments. For any such an industry which is producing green hydrogen, central government will provide a single portal for all such clearances. This would boost the ease of doing business. This is the second provision. Third one, under the policy, port authorities will also provide land to applicable charges to green hydrogen plants. This will help in the export of green hydrogen. When port authorities provide land at applicable charges to green hydrogen plants, then we would be in a good position. We would be compatible to export green hydrogen to neighboring countries. Fourth one, oil refining, fertilizer and steel sectors have to procure green hydrogen and green ammonia for certain production of their requirements in the future. This is something we already talked about, the first step. This is the first step towards green hydrogen. This would be the second step. This has not been mandated yet. In future, government can come up with a policy which says oil refining, fertilizer and steel sectors should produce or should procure green hydrogen and green ammonia for a certain proportion. For example, 25% or 30%, government can come up with such a policy in near future. Why green hydrogen? What are the advantages of hydrogen as a fuel? Let's see some points. Excellent energy carrier. Okay, the calorific value of hydrogen is better than the internal combustion engines which uses crude oil. Clean fuel with zero greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, you have seen that in a hydrogen fuel cell, water is a byproduct. Okay, water is a byproduct, and that is why hydrogen is a clean fuel with zero greenhouse gas emissions. It is eco-friendly fuel. Diverse domestic sources, we need not depend on the imports. We can have diversified domestic sources for hydrogen. Economically competitive, we talked about 6 lakh crores, that is the import bill for the crude oil. But when it comes to hydrogen, if the same amount of money is invested to produce green hydrogen, it would be economically competitive. Better security than other commercial fuels. Faster refueling time when compared to battery vehicle. This is something that is of a great potential when it comes to hydrogen as a fuel for passenger vehicles. The refueling time is very quick. It is in few minutes that the hydrogen fuel cell can be refueled. What are the challenges? What are the issues regarding the hydrogen as a fuel? First one, it is rarely found in its pure form, that is H2. This is the purest form. We all know the majority of the Earth's atmosphere is nitrogen, and then we have oxygen. Hydrogen is very rarely found in its purest form because hydrogen, which is a lighter gas than air, easily moves to the upper atmosphere. This is the reason why We can't find hydrogen in its pure form. The next one is the green and grey hydrogen. What is the issue about this is, you can only differentiate between green and grey hydrogen during the process of production. Once the hydrogen is being produced, you will not be able to classify it as a green hydrogen or a grey hydrogen. Okay, we are pushing more towards green hydrogen and not grey hydrogen. Grey hydrogen is economically destructive. This is not eco-friendly, whereas green hydrogen is eco-friendly. Next one, highly combustible. We have seen the calorific value of the hydrogen is far better or far more than the crude oil. That is the reason why it is highly combustible. Because it is highly combustible, the storage is difficult. Storage is difficult and it is risky also. The last one, the hydrogen, setting up of a hydrogen fuel cell or a green hydrogen industry requires a huge initial investment. Okay, it requires a huge initial investment. This is one of the major challenge. Let's see a question that is related to hydrogen as a fuel. Differentiate between green hydrogen and grey hydrogen. Discuss the provisions of National Hydrogen Mission and its advantages. Okay, divide the question into two parts. Differentiate between green hydrogen and grey hydrogen. I already told you, write the diagram of electrolysis, okay, and differentiate between green hydrogen, which requires renewable energy, and grey hydrogen. The electricity is produced from non-renewable sources, that is grey hydrogen. This is how you differentiate. Discuss the provisions of National Hydrogen Mission. We have discussed the provisions of National Hydrogen Mission, okay, and the advantages. How is the hydrogen as a fuel is advantageous to the economy, and how will National Hydrogen Mission boost this particular sector? This is what this particular question demands. I hope you have liked the video. For more such enriching content, please consider subscribing to Legacy AIS Academy. Thank you. Have a nice day.